Hey, 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 how's it going out there? I was thinking about finally doing something cool and trying to hook up Beam with Apache Kafka now that we've got a rough kind of outline of the basic operations and things you can do in Beam. So let's try to do something kind of beamy. Let's see, ignoring output files. All right, so I haven't touched this since last time. I'm trying to do everything kind of, above board. So here we are. Just to kind of recap from last time, we got a sample file, a sample code running in Apache Beam with Kotlin. And I need to push this up to GitHub too. So don't let me forget to do that. I will get that up there. But how this works now is we read in files from text. We do a flat map and split things up by character. Then we get rid of special characters that we only have alphanumerics left. And we convert those characters to uppercase. We count each letter. So we're doing aggregation there. We format our output and then we write the files. So I'll run this and we can see what the output looks like. Now I did mess around a little bit with unit testing, so I've got a kind of understanding of that. But I kind of want to just jump straight into Kafka and get that integration going before we come back to test. Oh, and I forgot to turn my fan on, so please. One moment. I'm upstairs in Florida, which does not go very well. All right. Fan is on. Whew, that was close. Okay, so we've got our Beam code. Now, we need Kafka set up, obviously, and we need some data flowing through it. It just so happens I have another project that does exactly that. So I'm going to go ahead and run it over here. And we'll rename this to Docker. So what we'll do, and I think it might take me a minute to actually find where that is on disk. Okay. And I'm probably not running Docker already, so let's get that started. I've been pushing this off for quite a while. I hate updating. I'm excited. If we can get this working, that would be really cool. I think that kind of opens the door finally to doing stuff that you can't do easily otherwise. Like what I did here, just counting letters, that's like a one-liner in JavaScript. So definitely contrived and not fun. All right, so do we have... there's a talk I did a couple of weeks ago on streaming architectures. Okay, and if we take a look at that Docker compose file, we can see what it's doing. Yeah. All right, I opened in Notepad, so sorry about that. So what this is going to do is it's going to spin up Hasura for us, which is awesome. Maybe we can do something cool there. Spins up Zookeeper, which is a requirement for our Kafka brokers. So we've got that set up. And now Kafka Connect is what I'm using for change data capture. So this is what I'm going to use to generate the streaming data that we're going to be processing with Beam. And I'll show you what the shape of that data, what it looks like. And we've got a couple UIs for kind of making sure that things are running and being able to kind of inspect that. And that's it. All right, so this is exciting for me, at least. Let me know if you hate this. All right, so let me make sure. I don't know if I'm running anything already. Okay, it looks like I am, so let's stop that. All right. I'm going to do VD just to make sure that we detach those logical drives that I already have already. So we're starting with a blank slate here. All right, and those are running. So now if I come to a browser, I can shut that down, put a new one. And it's been a while since I've messed with this project, so I kind of forget a little bit about it. So it'll probably take a little bit to get going. Okay. So the output of Beam has multiple files. How would you then consume the 5 files downstream from Beam? Yeah, that's a good question, Greg. I haven't thought about that at all. It's really not useful for me to have that output in 5 files. Realistically, I'd probably push that to a database or sync that somehow. Also, hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day. So even though I'm seeing something kind of funky here, I'm seeing a bunch of topics in Kafka already. It's already got data set up. So I did not mean to do that. I don't know why that happened. I did the -v to clear my data, so I'm kind of surprised by that. So let's just try this again. Let's go ahead and bring down this environment. I'll do that to detach. Oops. What am I doing? Detach those volumes. And yeah, and today, Greg, we'll actually use some integration here. So instead of pushing stuff to dump files, we're actually going to hook it up and do something that looks a little bit more real and not so contrived. So I'm going to try and do something more like a realistic use case with some streaming data. -v. So I removed the name volumes. And now, I forget what capital V does, but between these two things, I should have a totally blank slate when it comes to Kafka. Are you familiar with Kafka? Huh. I still see data. Hopefully this is just cached. We'll give this another second. Otherwise, maybe I've done something goofy in my Docker Compose file. I could have swore I saw logical volumes. But we could totally just nuke everything I have in Docker, and that should be fine. Okay. This looks like good. It's good, actually. So I think that maybe maybe this UI like does some caching. And so maybe if I just kind of do a hard reload here, then it won't be so bad. Okay, I am surprised to see that topic there. So that's weird. I can't explain why that's still showing up. But I've got no data in it. All right, cool, Greg. Glad to hear it. So we've got our stuff there right now, still doing the same thing, spitting out those outputs. Okay, yeah, there's some really cool things about Kafka. It is big and complicated though, so there's not like an easy like one-liner that I can do to kind of explain it. It's definitely it's very flexible, and it's useful for a lot of things, and it's made some interesting philosophical decisions. I guess we'll just try to kind of talk about that as we go. And so we're good here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start some data flowing, just so we've got some data to kind of catch up on. And the way we do that, I kind of forget. I think I have to do it from bash. And if we go into, if we open the README, hopefully I left myself a good reference here. I just went to, oh my gosh. I just opened up bash and tried to do Notepad. That's not going to work. All right, so if we look at this file, here's my instructions. I don't care so much about running this part of it. Connect.refresh, refresh.sh. Okay. Hey. All right, so over here, clear this. cd into Kafka, or into connect, and then we'll run refresh.sh. And what this is going to do, yeah, Aaron, that's a good question. I'm very familiar with Kafka. I spend like a lot of time working in Kafka, and I've never used PubSub. So I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole with PubSub. And I don't really know the differences between PubSub and Kafka to be able to speak on like what's better or not. I definitely prefer using managed services every chance I get, because I don't want to deal with you know, whatever stuff that managed service kind of does for me. Like I don't want to manage servers. I don't want to get, you know, pager duty or anything. All right, so this is impossible to read, but all it did is we can look at it. All it does is a couple curls, and it pushes some files around. So we'll take a look at the one that I'm most interested in, which is this data gen sightings. It keeps pushing my every time I hit escape, it keeps bouncing me back up to the code editor, which is not very friendly with VI. So maybe I'll just cat it instead. So if we look at our data gen sightings, oh, okay, that's nice. Yeah, I happen to know there's a Kafka IO package too. I don't know if it's built. I'm sure it's not built in. So hopefully that's the same. But yeah, I would love to take a look at PubSub too. So hey, maybe we'll get there. GCP, man. I recently got my GCP Associate Cloud Professional certification. So I'm definitely excited about GCP. And so everything I do, every little project, I try to do something a little bit with GCP to just kind of keep that in mind. Plus using it at work, of course. All right, so this is the file that I pushed to Kafka Connect, which was the tool I'm using for my change data capture. And basically, this is using a thing called DataGen, which is a plugin that you can use for Kafka Connect in order to generate raw data. And I give it a schema that defines the shape of that data. So it tells it like, you know, the minimum or the maximum or whatever for like numeric values. I can tell it, give it strings to use or tell it to use, you know, random strings or whatever. I do have a maximum interval. So this is only sending one message every 10 seconds, which is not very exciting. So let's up that a little bit. Hey, congratulations. I thought the test was really tough. The questions were kind of different than what I'd studied. And so I really didn't know if I passed or failed it until I got the email. What's funny is, I don't know if I talked about this anywhere else. When I took the test at a certification center, at the end of the test, they show you the screen that shows you like all the problems you've marked for review. And I was going through each one of them, just kind of double checking, and I was almost at the end of my time. I hit Control F to kind of look for the star, which was the marker, to see if you had any left that were needing review. And the computer locked up, and it showed me this message that says, you've been found attempting to tamper with the results of this test. Please see an administrator. So I went to the administrator and said, hey, I'm pretty much done. I just hit Control F and it locked me out. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. This is a 2-hour test too. I'm like, what do we do now? And she said, well, you just got to wait and see, because there were only 2 buttons that you could push. One was like a restart exam, and the other one was like cancel or something like that. She's like, I don't really know what to push here. It's like, all right, let's just give it to the end of the exam. So I had to stand in this like silent room. I couldn't leave, and just wait for that 2-hour period to end. Luckily, we were able to see from the sign-in sheet what time I started. So I just had to stand there silently, like worrying about whether the test got accepted or reset. If I failed and lost my $150. And so at the end of the time, she went and logged in, and it's basically said something like, you know, the test is locked, hit submit to see your final answer. So, whew. So she clicks the button, and it takes you to the next screen, which is really small text, and in the middle of this like paragraph of text, it tells you whether you tentatively passed or failed. And she goes, okay, cool, looks like I took it, and she hits okay, and I didn't get to see the answer whether I passed or failed. So I asked her, I was like, whoa, what, did I pass or fail? And she's like, oh geez, sorry, I don't know. So I had to go back home, frustrated, not knowing if I passed or failed, and it wasn't until I got the email a couple days later that I realized I had passed. So anyway, that's enough for story time. Sorry about that. Every 500 seconds now, we're going to be sending a message. I do need to... Oh my gosh. Every time I hit escape, it bounces up there. So I do need to rerun this. So I'm going to run refresh again, which will delete and restart my data gen. So now if we come over here, we should see a new topic named raw sightings. And if we click on it, we should be able to see the kind of data that I'm sending. So this demo, I can show you the output, but basically I was messing around with like pretend alien sightings. So I had like a type of alien. This is just a numeric key. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, so man, I was not a happy camper. And then I'm doing some latitude and longitude, just kind of random. So if we click through more of these, we'd see. I gave it a boundary on the latitude and longitude, which I can look at that file too. So if we open up like, which one was it? Sighting.avsc. So we can see basically where I said like, here's the min and max range for alien types, the sighting ID. So I started at 1. So that's also annoying too. So obviously something did not reset even though I cleared those logical volumes. Latitude and longitude, I have a very tight range. So I'm just doing stuff like around Florida where I live. And I think specifically that was like the conference I was at. So it was kind of centered on that location down in Miami. All right, so we've got data confirmed. We know the shape of the data because we can see it in our UI. And that's good. So if we come over here to hello test, I happen to know that there is a Kafka IO package. I think I need to go find it though. Okay, yeah. So Apache Beam, Kafka IO. And Kafka is very quirky. I don't know about PubSub, but I've been kind of leery about learning PubSub because I'm used to Kafka's quirks and I just haven't wanted to kind of deal with that. All right. We'll just grab all of this stuff and then see what it looks like. Call this reading from Kafka. All right. And let me find that package. It's probably just this. Man, I'm such a noob with this stuff. Like, how do I find the repository or where this code is in order to add it to my POM file? It's probably just this. There we go. Okay. This all looks good. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Not too shabby. So dependencies, I'll just add it in here, sure. We've got a property for the Beam version. Org Apache Beam. There we go, to Kafka, so that should be it. So if that automatically imported, which is supposed to, then I should be able to import. All right. So I'm assuming that the first value here is going to be the key, and this is Kotlin, so the generics go to the right. This will be the key of the message, and this will be the payload. We've got JSON, so I think string might work out here. Okay. So we come over here, you will see this is the key. So that's why I just happen to know that that works out. All right, so my Bootstrap server is just going to be localhost. And I might have to come up here and let me just rename this to bash, and we'll just stay in bash in this terminal. And over here, that's fine. Oh, I need to get the path from over here. Which looks funky. All right, whatever. There we go. Okay. Docker Compose. So I don't know if I want to continue on with the certifications. I really liked it. I think I got a lot out of it. It's particularly in kind of the breadth. Like it makes you go over like all the basics. So it's like it gives me kind of the warm fuzzies, thinking that there's not any like major gaps in the GC platform, like any huge things that I should know about. But I also don't feel confident to go do any crazy stuff. All right. So what I was looking for is, sorry, I know I'm an angry scroller. Kafka 1 is the name of the broker. That's what I connect to. And I'm connecting to 9092. And Kafka's got this kind of, these are those quirks I'm talking about. This thing where it doesn't like to be referenced by a different name. So for example, here we're telling it that we're going to connect to it as Kafka 1 and using this port. Alternatively, we do have an external IP setup for either its IP or localhost for 9092. Okay, and so that's good. So it looks like this will be the port that we go to. The deal is if you try to attach to it by something like by another advertised listener, like if we didn't have this, even though we have a Kafka 1 listener setup, it would be like, whoa, this name doesn't match. We're not gonna work. So that is good. So 9092 is good. And we only have one broker right now. So that's it. The topic, I'm going to copy and paste from here, raw-sightings, which I miscopied somehow. So these serializers in Kafka are, again, kind of complicated. The deal is that Kafka itself doesn't read your messages. It basically just spits out what it has. The brokers themselves are really dumb, and like you can't do any filtering or processing or anything like inside the broker. And it does that because it's really tightly tuned for like real-time, fast-moving data, and so it kind of enforces that speed by doing as little work as possible, and even trying to do things like zero copy, so copying directly from like the network card essentially to disk with like avoiding RAM in order to just kind of skip steps. So it's like very tightly tuned for that. The downside is you have to tell it about every little thing. So in this case, this is going to be Beam getting some sort of data it knows nothing about from Kafka. It has no guarantees. It could be anything. It could be binary. It could be string. It could be Avro. It could be compressed. It could be whatever. And the broker just doesn't know. So I'm going to tell it to use a key serializer and just tell it that the key that it's getting is a number. And then I have to tell it that the value that I'm passing it is JSON. But I'm just going to have it treat it as a string, and I think that'll work out. There is a JSON deserializer, but then I have to give it a cat class to serialize to and stuff, so it's just going to get a little weird. So we're just going to kind of skip that for now. Above 4 are all required, okay? Now the rest are optional. You can customize with blah, blah, blah. Okay. I do want to have a group ID. And the group ID is the name that my consumer group has. And that's important, at least to me, because it means that all consumers in this group, so every instance of my workers here, are going to share this group ID. And that means that will help Kafka split up the work appropriately between them. And so as workers are dynamically added, Kafka itself will say, okay, you have one node. Okay, fine, then you get all the data. Oh, you just dynamically added a second? Okay, I'm going to split up the work based on the partitions that I know about. So each of you gets half. And then so on and so forth. And it's awesome because it really plays nice in kind of cloudy dynamic environments where you could dynamically add workers if you see the latency increasing or the workload increasing, and Kafka will see that and work with Beam to basically kind of balance things out in order to spread the work out. There's some limitations, like you can only scale out to the number of partitions you set up, which is something you have to configure ahead of time. And so, and there's some trade-offs, like you can't just do a million partitions without any sort of performance hit. So there are things to consider there, none of which are important to us now, other than it's good practice to set a group ID, and also I think this is like my name. I'm not actually sure. Oh, sorry. The group ID is the name of the variable, and this will be the actual consumer group name, which we might be able to see in one of the UIs. So, what's a good name here? I guess my Beam app was probably fine. If I don't have anything better to call it, then call it KBeam. That's the name of the project. Okay, set the event times watermark based on log append time. I don't really care about that. That's going to be for some fancy stuff. So let's just leave it, sure. Recommitted is going to affect performance. But the good thing about recommitted is it makes sure I don't process things more than once. All right, it helps prevent that. But it does mean some overhead. Okay, same with that. That's going to make sure that we don't keep reprocessing the same stuff over and over again. And since we have real streaming data, that's fine. Finally, if you don't need Kafka metadata, I don't really care about Kafka metadata, so let's not even get it. What's this all about? Oh, this is like it's like Java class or something. Oh my gosh, I always forgot to do this. All right. To the internet, Kotlin. Okay, class, I just want to see an example. Okay, is that true? I didn't think it looked like that. Let's try it. I didn't think so. Kotlin's lying to me. Let's get to import it. Okay, these are the things that we trip on. I could have swore it was like class name .java class or something. Are we doing Java class somewhere else? Nope. Type of .java class. Is that what I was looking for? Oh, jeez. Anyone here know Kotlin better than me? Kotlin? Dot. I swear it's something like class or Java class. Get type. I don't want to create an object for it. ::. Okay. That's the secret. : class. And I think there's like a Java class or something if that's not good enough. So we'll see. That looks good. Okay. Okay. We're going backwards. Okay, what did I do wrong here? Was curious is my answer. What's crazy is it worked until at least it looked better until I did that. What would it look like if I just parse that thing as a string? Same problem. Alright, so maybe it is actually working and it just kind of highlighted another problem. Joy. Type mismatch. We require a PTransform in begin .java. Hey. I think you might be right, Aaron. We required an out. What did I do wrong? This stuff, man. You know, it's never the code that's the problem. It's like this stuff. About Java class. All right. This is literally just converting to Kotlin that from Java. That is the problem here. We've got an example. So I'm hoping by repasting it. Oh man, I was hoping that Kotlin would just kind of, or IntelliJ would just kind of see it and be like, oh hey, you're converting to, you're dropping and pasting in Java. All right, so we may end up going back to the Aaron. So it found a Kafka IO or Kafka IO.read, but it's requiring. Oh, well, this could be okay. So what I forgot is that I've got all this other code here that might be kind of muddying the waters. So let's just get rid of that stuff for now and see what happens here. Oh, look, I'm still telling it it's a P collection of string. Wow, okay. Update consumer properties is deprecated. Okay, it didn't tell me what to use instead. Is there like a set consumer config? Who else does that same thing? I'm guessing they just renamed it with consumer config updates. And it looks like it takes the same thing. Okay, well, tell you what, let's not worry about that for now. It'll get a default one, and all that matters is that we're able to kind of see what it looks like. So now I think you're onto something. So we require an out serializer, and I'm returning a K class, which is the Kotlin version. So there you go, Aaron. Boom. Oops, Java class. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Found a K property of string and string deserializer. Required a class of out deserializer. Why is this yelling at me? It's so close. Type inference failed. And it found something specific when it just expected a deserializer. Do I have to like cast it or something? This is kind of ridiculous. Okay. All right. To the internet. I can't be the only one doing Kafka IO with Kotlin with key serializer. Look at that. I really ought to Google more sooner. Okay. Yada yada. Yada yada. So this is what I'm trying to do. Runs it fine. In order to access a value via value provider, you need to use the get method, and then you get the value with its concrete type. For example, when having option blah, you can use .get. Seems like the Kafka IO API requires to get string parameter and not value parameter. You have to extract the value from the value provider wrapper. What? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And using value provider, you can access the value with get. So it sounds like it's just, they're talking about that part. Yeah, let's see what the compile error is actually. Type mismatch. So we're having a problem with the deserializer. You know, I don't think this is this isn't necessarily specific to Kotlin. I mean to Kafka IO. This is like a Kotlin Java thing. So let's try that error message. Okay. Oh, we found an answer. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. This is not what I'm looking for. All right, we are down the rabbit hole at this point. Yeah, why I didn't need to. That's the wrong page. It's the wrong search. All right, I want to see Kotlin. Type inference failed. Expected type mismatch. Expected type is class, but class out was expected. All right, let's give that a shot. Okay, so this is the kind of thing we're trying to do. Java bang bang, is that it? Is this just a nullable thing? Okay. That actually did get us closer. So we got a type mismatch, and I'm sure that deserializer is a type. String deserializer is a type of deserializer. I mean, like, what the heck? It doesn't make sense to me to cast a type. It needs a class of something that extends deserializer k, which k is defined right there. And I'm telling it, yo, this right here fits the bill. I wonder if we ran this, I think it's going to default to string and string for key and value. We do have numbers in the key, but I don't know, maybe it'll work. Okay, what do we got here? It's trying to do byte array deserializer by default. Oh, looks like we need to actually add some more dependencies here. So this might be okay, actually. We need to probably add a Maven package for org Apache Kafka. And I wonder if just doing this would be good enough to, yes, find it. All right, it's in org Apache common. Which is probably just in org Apache Kafka. Let's try Maven org Apache.Kafka. Okay. What's the difference here? 2.4.1. I'll have to check the Docker file, which I still have up, to see what version of Kafka we're using. We're using Confluence version of Kafka, which it's a little bit different. It kind of adds some special sauce, but I think it maps to the .3 release. So I think we're on 2.3.1. So let's give this a shot. Oh, I already had it open. Man, I'm so sorry to get dragged down into this. That's so frustrating. It's always the dumbest stuff that I get hung up on. Let's see. All right, and we'll add a Kafka version and say 2.3.1. All right, try running this again. Same problem. Okay, now it's telling me with key deserializer is required, so we won't be able to get away with that. Let's see, is there any overloads for this? Nope. So if I just paste that in like bang, what happens? Same thing. So I mean, that's ridiculous. Required. What does it mean by out? Do I literally need the stupid word? I don't know what that means. Required class out. that we found. All right, let's go back to the long here. Class Java, bang bang. Okay, interesting. So the problem was I was telling it was going to be reading something different than it was getting. Type inference failed. Not enough information to infer parameter k and v. So I'm trying to tell it that it's going to get a long and a string. Is this like a... No. Man, I'm so sorry, guys. I thought this was going to be super fast, and instead we got like a weird error. Does this ever happen to you? Let's see. Kotlin pass type out. So what does out mean? We can annotate the type parameter t generic before the read method. Yeah, so they do the generic before the read, but I thought that was just because it was like Java, which puts the generics before and Kotlin puts them after. So I thought it was okay to just do that. Well, let's see. What if we take that Kafka line again? And what if I pasted this whole thing? I'm hoping IntelliJ just hooks it up and just tells me pipeline equals pipeline.create. So that's one of my favorite features is you paste Java and it just kind of sees that it's Java and hooks you up. But it's just not doing it here. Maybe it doesn't know either. Wish it was like a web page like convert Java to Kotlin. There we go. Oh my gosh, you want to try this? This is going to be ridiculous. Let's try this. So what if we took hello.kt and made hello.java and you know, I shouldn't have copied it. Let me just do a new one. This is ridiculous. All right. So now if we create our pipeline, paste in this stuff. Let's see. Public void test, sure. All right. Pipeline.create. Equal new pipeline. Man, if this works, it's gonna be like super hack. Cannot resolve pipeline. What do you mean you can't resolve the pipeline? Either way, this is what I want to do with it once I get it. Oh, it takes the options. Is that right? Options. Options equals new pipeline options. Options. Seriously? Oh my gosh. All right. That's all good. This is the optional stuff, so let's not worry about that. Just those 4 fields. Oops. Okay. All right, so that's how it wants to format it. So now we've got a Kotlin class, or sorry, a Java class here that does what we want with this one weird caveat. That's so weird that I'm able to do this over here. Oh, pipeline.create. Oh my gosh, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. So, kind of look static void main. Whatever. It still doesn't want to let me run it, but that's okay. Because I think that I can just right click here and let me give it a different name. Hello Java. Now, what if we refactor, or there should be some other way to kind of right click and say convert Java file to Kotlin. Let's see what they did. I mean, am I going crazy here? This looks like exactly what we had. Long serializer. Oh, it's a little bit different. : class.java string to serializer. So if we come back over here to what we had, that's the difference. Did I just import the wrong ones? Oh man. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. It usually is. I imported Faster Jackson. Oh my gosh. So this whole time. Wow. So did you like that hack there of creating the Java file then converting it? Oh my gosh. Because I was so sure that it was like some weird Kotlin edge case that nobody'd ever run into. What I should have done is just gone a little slower here and said, oh no, we probably want to use the Kafka bits here. Wow. By the way, our thing has been running every 500 milliseconds for quite a while now. Let's see, so last time we looked, we were like in the 52,000 range. Oh, that's not true. I don't know. That's where we started at 52,000. And now we've done over 10,000 messages. So we're in the 61,000s. So that's quite a bit of data to read. That's right, Greg. I'm with you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I think this is going to read Kafka data and it's going to pass it on to another step here. And so I kind of want to see what they're doing. If they have anything passed. Okay, so next they're going to create a P collection of strings. And we know how to deal with that. Oops. So let's apply this. And again, we got to Kotlinize it. And then see what I did wrong this time. So it requires a transform. Okay. I think this is the kind of stuff we did before. Don't we never do the PTransform? Let's Strings.create. That's how we can write to another Kafka topic. I don't care about that stuff. What I'm really interested in now is basically just reading the values. And it looks like they want a PTransform, and I'm returning a values. So this is going to end up being one of those things where we like create a PTransform. And it's going to take in something. Maybe it'll figure it out for us. Okay. I haven't done a PTransform yet, but I think there's that Kotlin example of Apache Beam. And there was like an example file. I should have bookmarked it. Maybe they're doing a transform in there. Here we go. There's a little Rosetta Stone there, but they're not doing... There we go. Not doing there. So if we look into Beam file, are we doing a transform in here? Okay, cool. This is fine. So what they're doing is basically creating a separate class, and we could do that inline, but at this point I would like to start doing things a little bit more real. So let's go ahead and do this. All right. Okay, a new class called, I don't know, Kafka Transform. All right. We'll comment this out, and we'll make it kind of similar. So we'll do a class called Kafka Transform, which is a PTransform, and it takes in, this is what I'm not sure of though, it's like, what's the output of this? I'm getting some sort of long and string somewhere, but I think, I just don't know what the, I still don't understand that about Beam. It's like, what am I getting passed into me? A P collection of Kafka records of long and string. Okay. Did I do it again? Import, which one do I want? I want that one. I got a bad habit of just alt enter and hitting enter really fast, and that is not doing me any favors today. Kafka record of long and string. And what I'll want to do is basically just convert this to something like a collection of strings that I know how to use so we can reuse the existing code. Okay. And we got, so that's my input. And my output, I just want to be a P collection of strings. So, I forgot I copied this over here, so I didn't have to alt tab. Sorry about that. Oh, and even this should have been a P collection of Kafka records, I believe. Yeah, P collection in, P collection out. Okay. C#. Throw me off. Okay. Class Kafka Transform is not abstract and it does not implement the abstract base class member. That's an error I can deal with. So that should create our expand, which we've got right here. So that's fine. So we've got a function expand that takes in our input. Great. And does our output. So if we came back over here, and I can't grab what the example was using. Kafka IO, here we go. All right, so now what I want to do is basically transform this P collection into that P collection. So let's see what I can do with my input. It's interesting that, oh, it's nullable. Okay. So if input equals null, then I don't know. Return a P collection of strings that is not null. Dot create. None of these can be called with the arguments specified. Okay, there's going to be a better way to create that P collection. Let's see here. Let's worry about that in a second. What's this values dot create mean? Type is unknown. So here we get a values of string. What is a values? It's a PTransform of P collection. Does that mean I can return its P collection? No. Alright, so let's look back at the code over here. So what we do, or what they do in this case, is they take in their lines and they apply a pardo. Okay, and then they do another apply, and that's how they get the collection. So they get the they do the transform via collection, which is good. Okay. So we can do this. We're almost there, man. I think this is going to work. Let me clean up my coincidental coding there and replace it with more coincidental coding. So we're going to apply. We're going to do a pardo. And I'm going to go ahead and split my screen and look at how we did the pardo over here, because I'm lazy. Import that thing. I'm probably going to wish I had kept that open, but whatever. Type inference failed. That's okay. We'll get there. So what we're taking in this time is going to be a Kafka record of long and string. We're going to process element. We're going to take it in context. Fine. And this time my element will be a Kafka record. And what I want to do is, oh cool, not get the topic, not the headers. This is all cool stuff. I kind of want to print this stuff out. kv.value. I think that's it, man. We set the output equal to the message that we're getting in. I think that's going to start spitting out our items here. Okay, why is this not happy? A return expression is required. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Do I just need to return the apply? No. So I'm running an expand function, which takes in a Kafka record, returns a P collection. I'm taking my collection and I'm doing a parallel do, which converts my Kafka records into strings. And I'll go ahead and I'll print out the context.element.offset, because that should show us basically where they are roughly. So we can take a gander at the offset. And I spit that out. So I mean, that all looks good. The problem is here is that I'm expecting to return a P collection and I'm not. Let's go back over here and look at how we did the pardo over here. We just did a pardo. Oh, we're so close. So they just return the apply inside the expand, which is what I want to do. But it doesn't like that. Oh, okay. This is good. So my value here is actually the whole message, which includes the key. So what I need to do here is basically dot value again. Key dot value dot. That's not true. It found a string. It found a p collection dot string. Let's check out this doofin. So doofin has an input and output. And I'm telling it the output is just string. And here in process element, I have no return type. I take in the context. I take in the element. I print out the offset, fine. And then I set the output of the context equal to the context's element, which is going to be the whole record, dot k value dot value. If I control P on there, it tells me that's a string and that this is key value. This should be a record. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I have to cast it or something. No, it's generic. I know, I almost wonder if I have like my inputs and outputs mixed up. I always thought input was on the left and the output is on the right. I mean, that looks good to me. Alright, let's look a little closer at their example. They take in a collection of strings and they return a collection of key values in their case. Okay, so in on the left, out on the right. Is that what we have? I say we're taking in a collection of Kafka records and we're spitting out strings. Check. Convert the lines of text into individual words. They do a par do here and get words. At this point, I expect that par do or that words is going to be a p collection of strings. Now they're going to count the numbers here, and count, I believe, is what's going to return that key value. And then they return what's been applied. Let's just make sure this looks right. So it's still telling me that my result is a Kafka record. What the heck? Oh, so I just did a par do. No. Lines is what's coming in. In my case, input is what's coming in. Kafka record, long and string. Return a P collection. String. Okay. I mean, it makes sense to me that I have to tell the doofin what its output is. And I'm trying to tell it that you take in a Kafka record, long and string, and you return a string. But it's just like not doing it. What if I just hit play? Okay. Inferred type. Deferred type is incorrect. Do I have to like, can I tell you that's a string? Should be a P collection of string. Sure. Oh yeah, it's not. Let's see, what does P apply return? Returns P collection of, I want it to be a string. T is what gets applied here. Let's look at the docs here. So this calls the specified function, which is the block, with this value as a receiver and returns this value. Man, oh my gosh. Did I read that right? It's doing the Kotlin apply, at least when I control B to it, this is taking me to the Kotlin language apply and not the apply for P collection. So this is the one I want it to call. So I wonder if it's like Kotlin getting confused because it applies like a reserved function name. I wonder if forcing it to use the right format would work. I don't know. I mean, that seems crazy talk. Once again, I'm thinking it's a compiler error, not my error. Chances are slim. Let's see. We'll call this extract message. Okay, why isn't it like this? Let's just type this again. I won't type the whole thing, but we'll get there. Okay, now that's where we take our transform. Oh man, okay. Wow. So that was the whole problem. So, okay, so let me rewind and I'll fix this. All right, so in here, I did a lambda with brackets. And what I really needed to do was pass the pardo. And so what was happening, it was recognizing the signature of the Kotlin .apply, which has happened to kind of work out similarly, but returns the same type of input now. So wow, that was a interesting problem to have, and it all makes sense now. I was using Kotlin apply rather than the apply for the object. So that was funny. That was some implicit fun there. All right, and now we just have to handle the nulls, and then I can just return this. Okay. Let me tell you, I just won't pass you a null. Let's just hope we don't get nulls here. Okay, so I think this is going to do it. I think this is going to print out stuff. So I think we're good here. And this is something that we can easily unit test because all we have to do is pass in a P collection of something we can easily mock. and then test that we get the right output out. So that's good. We don't have to test Beam. We can trust Beam to do its job, and we can just test our quote-unquote logic there. Oh, that's really minimal. So up here now, all we have to do is .apply. And we have to give it our Kafka transform instance. And we can give it a text name like Kafka extract Kafka message to name our pipeline. Just make it read a little bit nicer. So that's it, man. That should print out messages, I believe. We'll find out here. And I think for .run, I'm not totally sure, but I think we might have to do like a wait until finish here in order to tell it to keep streaming and not just run once and stop. Okay. Exception in main. Something is enabled, but group ID isn't set. So this is probably one of those optional things. Let's just go ahead and get rid of all the optional items and just run. Okay, size of data received by long serializer is not 8. Okay, that's interesting. Let's try doing a string. Expect a type mismatch. Okay, I told it it's a long. Now I'm telling it it's a string. That means our thing over here also needs to know about strings. Okay, so I think that's it. I wonder if it's actually just an integer and not a long. Hey, oh my gosh, it's working. And look, it's streaming, it's still moving. That's awesome. You know what else is interesting we can tell from this? It did not start at the beginning of time. It started streaming from right now, and that is the default. So that's funny. So I'll show you something funny about Kafka here. So I'll stop this, and let's see where we're at. 67264. Now if I start it again, it's not just going to go to latest. It's going to use this offset. So if I hit play, it's going to start at 67264 again. Oh, no, it didn't start at 328, so it picked up back where it was. So let's see if that's because I didn't set the consumer group ID. So maybe it's always doing latest. So it's not trying to go back in history at all. Let's see, I forget what that was called. Where's the group? Hey. It doesn't show setting the group here. Where did I get that from before? It's probably just this. Which is deprecated, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I just want to see it work. Let's get a group.id of kbeam. And there was another thing talking about the offset. And here's talking about getting latest by default. That's a Kafka thing. I know about that setting and how to stop that, but let's see it work again. Okay, so let's just leave that for now. Expected a mutable map, and I gave it an immutable. Let's just do list of. List of. Okay. Mutable list of. Oh my gosh, this is the stupidest thing to get hung up on. Oh, sorry, required a map. Mutable map of this to that. Oh my god. What now? Mutable map of string to any. All right, cool. And yeah, that's deprecated. That should be fine. Okay, so now we've got a new group ID. So if my understanding is correctly, when we stop this, it should pick back up at 68007 and not where it is now. 68033. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's always, it's not setting those offsets. So let's look up those appropriate configs. Latest. I want earliest. All right, you know what? This is, I'm just getting dragged down another rabbit hole, and I would rather just see some other stuff. So I'm going to put a to-do in here. Do change to include history instead of just whatever's recently coming in, which means setting the auto reset, offset, whatever, to earliest, and ensuring that offsets are committed. So that'll be two settings that we need to check on there. And I'm surprised that they're not running by default. I'm just going to leave this deprecated call in there just because I don't want to spend forever on this. And down in here, we're spitting out the offset. We could also look at the values of these messages, which would be kind of cool. A little bit more interesting. It's going to be a lot of text. Yeah, but there we go. So there is our stuff. So that's pretty neat. Okay. So now what? I think I want to try one last thing before signing off for the day. You know, this is taking longer than I expected, as always. Let me show you. So I've got a database over here that it doesn't know about. That's running as part of that Docker Compose file. So let's hook up to it. 5432 is default. If we look at our Docker Compose file, it's called DB, no, Postgres 5432, no username, password, super secure. All right, test that connection, no. Is there a default password or something? No, okay, just user Postgres. Okay, so if I come in here to Postgres, let's see, we've got a database. All right, nothing in there right now. So if we come over here to that other project, I've got some schema we can create, and it will describe the types of aliens that we're looking at. Oh, you know what? I just realized this is going to be something I don't know how to do. We'll go ahead and get it set up, and then probably tackle this in a later video. But see, projects, streaming, architectures. In here, I've got a file called import SQL. All right, we dump this in there. This will create a table. It will insert a bunch of mock values about aliens. And so these things map to the alien type. And what that means is that once I figure out how to deal with tabular data, I think this will be a cool next video. What we'll do is we'll take in the streaming data with the latitude and longitude, and we'll join it to tabular data. So it'll kind of act like a database lookup, except we won't actually have to go out and do that. What we'll do is we'll actually stream data in from the database. So it'll be real time, but our code will just treat it as if it's just there all the time. And so our code won't have to know anything about how that data is sourced. And I think it's going to work out really cool. And what this will basically act like is a basic enrichment step in a pipeline, which is super common way of doing things. So I set up the database. And so there's another UI that's running over here. Let me close some windows. So we looked at the topics in 8000. I think it's 8001. Nope, 8003. All right. So data gen sightings, this is the thing that's generating the data for those aliens every 500 milliseconds. If we come over here and look at alien types and look at this thing, check this out. This is running a query, and this is like the most basic, stupidest like CDC you can do, change data capture, where it is just querying the database on an interval, which might be defaulted. I don't see it set anywhere. And it's keeping a watermark. In this case, it's doing both the timestamp and the incrementing column. So basically, if an alien gets modified or we get a new alien, then it's going to pull that data into a Kafka topic, which then later, next time we stream, it'll be treating that as tabular data, which is super cool. And so let's check this out. So if we go over here, look at our alien types topic, which is now showing up. You can see we've got 5, 6, 7, 8 types of aliens that is living in Kafka. So if we come over here to our database, which I guess, did I close it? Dang. Okay. That's fine. We'll just do another console. And I'm just going to copy one of the other aliens and modify that a little bit. So remember, we had 7 in there. So I'm going to insert a new alien named, what's up, Greg? Or here, we'll do a Goncharov alien. And see here, we'll do a fun alien description generator. Let's see what kind of alien you are, Greg, if you're still around. So these aliens are a type of amphibian. They have 4 arms and 2 legs with a long, strong, and agile tail. Okay. And I don't know, I'm just gonna make up a ping. This field doesn't actually matter. I was doing some stuff with GIF or with the SVGs that I didn't end up doing. Your severity will give you a 4 because you're super severe. Super awesome. Okay, cool. So now I just inserted new data to the database. So if everything's hooked up correctly, when I come back over here to Kafka UI, then we should see an 8th value. And we do see an 8th value. Oh, you know what? I think there was 8 before. Let me refresh. Yeah. So if we look at alien types, there should now be 9 in there. There were already 8. My bad. So now there's the 9th. It's a Goncharov. And these aliens are a type of amphibian. 4 arms and 2 legs. And so that's awesome. And so we've got that key of 9. So next time we stream, which will probably be tomorrow, so we're getting close to 2 hours here. I told my wife 1 hour, so I'm in trouble. I will basically take this raw sighting and we'll look up the alien type ID. In this case, it'll be 5. And we'll find the alien type ID of 5, and we'll mix that information together so we can show it on a UI. And I've actually got a UI already set up for that, so we'll actually see some stuff moving on a screen, which will be cool. And I'll show you also why looking things up this way is going to be much more efficient than you might expect. So we don't have to do like some crazy kind of scan. We can use libraries that will know how to join these things up relatively quickly. So I think that's going to work out really well. So what else can we do here? We've got data coming in from Kafka. We can see it. I think I might just call it here and put some to-dos in. Or I might just leave it for now. Let's see. Thank you, Greg. I thought this was going to go much faster and smoother, but as always, hit some road bumps. Definitely learned a few things. Most importantly, my biggest lesson for the day was to not hit Alt Enter Enter really quickly, and I should actually look at what I'm importing for things. Sometimes they have the same names. So next stream about Beam, what we'll do is we will pull in tabular data from alien types table, and we will enrich our sightings data with the tabular data, and then we will output the enriched data to another topic, and then I already have code, or I'm already set up rather to display that enriched data on the map, on a map. And so before I go, I'll go ahead and show you what the final output will kind of look like, since we've already got it kind of mostly running. So if we come over here to that streaming folder, streaming architectures, enrichment. Okay, give that a second to find itself. All right, so now if we hit play over here, then this is basically what we're kind of mimicking a little bit. And so this is using Kafka Streams, which is a streams library that kind of does similar type things. It does enrichment. You can see right there, it's catching up. So this is doing what I was kind of trying to do with those configs. Oops, that's the wrong file. It's the test directory. We don't need no stinking tests. All right, so here's our enrichment happening here. And here's what it's doing. Basically, what I did in this case is using the library, the Kafka Streams library. It has the same kind of notion of streams and tables that Beam has. And so this is very similar technology. And what I do here is I build up a stream of raw sightings and tabular data of alien types. This will stay in sync automatically for me. Then I enrich the sightings and return a new message that combines the things I know about the type of alien, like the description and the image, with the things that are new about the sighting, and basically the latitude, longitude. And then I output that to a topic. So I'm going to go ahead and start running this. Oh, I already did. So what that means is we come over here and look at this enriched sightings topic now. This will be what we're doing in Beam next time, is basically outputting this information, same format and everything, to Kafka. And now you can see I've got the alien type, the description, latitude and longitude here. And we got one final step here, which is basically setting up Hasura, which is going to give us some GraphQL goodness over here. And there's a couple other things. I'm going to do some hand wavy stuff here just because I don't want to take up too much time. But basically, I'm pumping that data back in from the enriched sightings. I'm syncing it using Kafka Connect again, my CDC tool, back to a Postgres table. And then what that means is I can use GraphQL subscriptions to do real-time updates on the UI. And you can see the data is changing here every roughly 500 milliseconds. And so this is how ultimately I'm getting real-time information to the UI. So we'll get through all of this with Beam. So I'll go through and redo all of this stuff kind of step by step. So I know this was like a fast whirlwind. But then the final kind of product here will be this thing I've showed before. It got a service worker cashier. I didn't start the website. So let me do that real quick. Over here in terminal. It's just a real simple React app. All right, there we go. And this will be the output. And of course, we'll tweak it and have some fun with it. There we go. This will be the output. Which would be like a little kind of game type thing with like alien sightings. You can see it's changing quite frequently. The UI is kind of having a hard time keeping up with it. But yeah, we can see aliens kind of popping up around us. Maybe we'll change it to Bigfoot or something. I don't know. We'll have some fun with it. But we'll get this stuff working with Apache Beam, and then we'll figure out how to run this in data flow so we can actually see some interesting stuff happening all real time and all really efficient. And if you remember, like all this stuff is happening with very, very little code. We're basically relying on the tools to do the extra work, and it should all be really scalable. So if we want to increase the amplitude or how fast these aliens are popping up, then it's easy for us to add additional workers and connect. I don't even have to change the configuration. I just have to add more configurations, and I'll start rapidly doing creating aliens. The workers for Apache Beam can be scaled up too. And so basically, this should scale to a babillion users, as Alan likes to say, without me changing any code or worrying about it, which is super awesome. So, all right, so stay tuned. Cool stuff coming. Thanks for sticking around, especially with all those frustrating bits. So no cheating here. No creative editing. Coding is frustrating. And I'll get this checked in. And you guys have a great one.